How you all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome everybody. What is going on? So this is gonna be my personal wish list of this season, my personal hopes, my personal ambitions, my personal worries for this season. So this is not going to be my Bundesliga preview. This is just going to be Bayern specific. Bundesliga preview will most likely happen tomorrow. Yeah, but in terms of this season, there's a few things that I'm hoping for and a few things that I'm not hoping for. Now, the first thing that I am not hoping for is injuries. Pretty much our biggest opponent every single season, injuries. Every time, we head into important phases, we get injuries. And I hope that just once, especially now that we test their bloods and everything, like we do like all these extensive tests, I'm hoping that we'll be fine. I'm hoping that there's not going to be anything of that sort, especially not in a crucial phase. I mean, injuries, they happen because it is a contact sport after all. It is a sport that's very demanding, not just because you're training not every single day, but most of the time during the week, but also because you're obviously playing against physical opponents where you have to go to the limits of your ability. So, injuries are always going to happen. But I'm hoping that we can at least reduce them to a substantial amount. Now, that's the first thing, and that's probably the biggest thing, because I feel like injuries are always the things that hit us just at the worst moment of the season. Like, we could have no injuries for, like, the whole season, and suddenly, a week or two before, like, an important match, 10 players out. So that's the first thing, right? The second thing that I'm hoping for, and this is, I'm guessing this is going to be quite different from a lot of other people, because I feel like a lot of people will have bigger hopes, other hopes. For me personally, one of the hopes will be that we play attractive football. For me, attractive football is always the most important. I know people will say successful football, but for me, if the football is attractive, if the football is good, then 9 times out of 10 the football is successful. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Now, with Niko Kovac, of course, he isn't a mainstay, I guess you could say. Maybe not a mainstay, but a name. He's not a character like the 2 previous, or even the 3 previous coaches that we've had. Coaches that have been in the game for quite a long time. Ancelotti, Jupp Heynckes, and even Pep Guardiola. Coaches that have been there for a substantial amount of time and have actually achieved the highest of the highs. With different clubs. So Kovac doesn't actually have that pedigree. He doesn't, but he still has to earn the respect of the players, and I'm hoping that he gets the respect of the players. I hope that the players don't look down on him. So far, obviously that hasn't been the case, but so far it has been good times. Once the bad times happen, that's when the respect will be questioned. We saw that with Ancelotti. If the rumors are to be believed, of course, we saw it with Ancelotti, that the players themselves wanted him out, that they didn't believe in him anymore, so that's why the board sacked him ultimately. The question is that going to be the case with Niko Kovac? Once things go bad, once certain players get benched, will the players then revolt and then basically rise up against him? I'm hoping personally not. I'm hoping that it's all going to be under control and we're going to play successful football, because I feel like if the players are happy, the team will be happy, the coach will be happy, and ultimately the football will be happy, which leads to the fans being happy, which leads to just being a good overall season. So the third thing that I'm looking for is Lewandowski. Now, personally, I didn't have a problem with Lewandowski at all, which is why most of you guys, you guys didn't really see a run from me, because I don't think you can blame a striker for not scoring. In a way, it sounds very weird, considering a striker's job is to score. That's like saying you can't blame a goalkeeper for not saving, or you can't blame a defender for not defending. You can and you can't. In his situation, I feel like the criticism is a little bit too harsh, considering I don't feel like he had that kind of support at the end of the season. I also feel like he didn't, he wasn't as clinical at the end of the season, so it's a bit of both. But I don't want to put all the blame on him, because I feel like if we had other wingers, wingers that are less greedy, then I feel like he might have gotten more chances, which would obviously lead to more goals. So from him this season, I'm expecting a reply. That's really it. I'm expecting a reply. I'm expecting, I'm expecting him to do well, and then answer his critics ultimately. And that's my personal hope, not just for him, but just for the club as well. Because if he scores, if he's, that's the thing. And personally, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we are very, very reliant. It's probably a bad thing, and now that I think about it, we are very, very reliant on our wingers and on our strikers. so once a striker doesn't fire, you know, it all comes down to the wingers, and if the wingers aren't in a good form, then it all comes down to the strikers, and if all two aren't in a good form, or if all two aren't you know, on fire, then we don't really get goals. You know, we saw that last season against, especially Real Madrid, where Kimmich, out of all players, really scored the goals. You know, and Kimmich is a right back. So for me personally, you know, I hope we get a little bit less reliant on our strikers, a little bit less reliant on our attackers. That's why personally I didn't want to see Vidal go, because he was one of those players that would chip in with the goals. Now obviously that task falls upon the other players. You know, players like Müller, James, and Thiago will have to score that extra 5 to 10 goals, in my opinion, just to like make up for that number. So that's, you know, it's a worry, but it's also, I don't know, it's a worry, but it's also something that we'll have to work with, I guess. So yeah, and last but not least, and this one is quite simple actually, I want success. I mean, how can you support a football club and not want success? How can you support a football club and not want the club to do well? I want success, but I feel it's going to be more difficult than ever. And personally, I want success with young players integrated. I mean, that's a given. I think for me, more so than other people, like, I would rather have young players integrated than have than buy expensive players that may or may not integrate. I know that sounds very counterproductive, considering that usually the expensive players are the better players. Not always, but usually it takes time to integrate youth. But I always been a fan of youth, especially considering we built the new youth center, and if you have that and you have a lot of good youth players, then you know you might as well try and integrate them to the best of your ability. So that's just my personal opinion. I'm hoping that maybe 2 or 3 younger players, not become first team players, but definitely in that inner circle. Now for me personally, I feel like Coman or Gnabry, that this has to be their breakout season for either of them. Best obviously if it's both of them, but for either of them it has to be a breakout season. I feel like both of them have to like make their, you know, basically make the undeniable claim on the first team 11. I know a lot of people say, well, they already should be, but alright, I can give you that, most, to be fair. I can give you that, but I still feel like they have to show that, like, that extra 2%, just to be like, you know what, Gnabry not so much. Gnabry I think has to show a little bit more considering he just joined, but Coleman especially, like, he has to show that little 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5%, just to be like, you know what, I'm the first name on the team. I'm the first name on that team sheet. Another 2 players that I'm hoping will do well are Renato Sanchez and Goretzka. Obviously both still very, very young, both still, you know, with the ability to do a lot, with the ability to still grow a lot as well. So both of them, I'm hoping, both of them quite similar. Goretzka not so much lately. Like earlier in his days, he used to be a lot more similar to Renato Sanchez, but nowadays he just seems like he doesn't really seem that, you know, box to box like. But yeah. I mean, besides them, I mean, the one other name that comes to mind is Niklas Süle, but I feel like he already has established himself in the team, so I don't even consider him. And then obviously a few players from the youth team themselves. There are 2 to 3 that I can think of right now, but I don't think that either of them will have a spot in the first 11. So, you know, just in the expanded team, I'm hoping that they're gonna have appearances. Because we're a weird situation. Like, we always have like these youth players that we then integrate into the first squad. They do well, but then they never get another chance. Like one that comes to mind really is someone like Weiser. You know, we integrated him. I know he didn't lit the world on fire, but he's still a good option. You know, Contento, another player that, you know, we had in the team, and then he didn't really lit the world on fire, but he was still there. He was still, you know, he was still there whenever we needed him. Another one that comes to mind was Gaudino. You know, he was there, almost played like 6-7 games that season, or 8 games that season. Then we shipped him off to loan. You know, then we loaned him out. We shipped him off, and since then he's gone. Since then, what happened to him? Who knows? I don't know. So we have a lot of these like youth players that when we integrate them into the squad, they do well. It's not like, you know, they do terrible. They do well, but we then just don't care anymore. That's a big worry in my opinion, a personal worry in my opinion. I hope that we do. Kovac, he does integrate youth quite well, so I do hope that, you know, he doesn't take the pressure from like the bigger players and does what he thinks is right. Whether that's integrating youth players, whether that's not integrating youth players. I just hope that he does what he feels is right, so that we can see the football that he wants to play, and not the football that the players want to play in a way, I guess. So that's my wish list for the season. You might have noticed that I didn't mention any trophies, because like I said, for me, when we play beautiful football, we play attractive football, you know, we play good football. I feel like no team this season really stands out. Real Madrid don't, you know, I don't think they're going to win it this season again. Losing Ronaldo is a huge loss that, you know, they have a huge gamble right now whether they can replace, you know, him with the players that they have. Barcelona, of course, they've been struggling a lot for the past 5-6 seasons. Maybe not that long, 3-4 seasons. Juventus, I mean, Juventus, they're always up there, but have they got an extra step now, you know, to actually pull off the victory? I don't know. Then you have PSG, obviously Manchester City, all these teams, you know, there are a lot of teams where I don't think there's any massive favorites. So that's just my point right here. I don't think there are any favorites. Besides that, though, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you guys probably tomorrow. And then obviously on Friday, and then on Saturday, and then on Sunday, and then on Monday. So I'll see you guys for the rest of the week. Until then, everyone, I mean, Monday is pretty much the start of the next week, but still, I'll see you guys for the rest of the week. Until then, everyone, peace out. And most importantly, tell me what you want to see for the season. Not so much trophy wise, but more so just like everything else wise. You know, just like, I don't know, like I mentioned, like injuries, or I mean, injuries will probably be on the top of most people's list. You know, just saying we don't want any injuries, because who wants injuries? I mean, but like maybe specific players that you want to see in action, or specific things that you want to see happen, these kind of things. Anyway, though, folks, tell me in the comment section down below. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, everyone, peace out and have a nice day. Bye.